So I've got about 20 minutes, I think. So we'll talk about how to reduce the carbon emissions in offices. So the first thing is to really understand where those emissions are, how we reduce emissions while saving money and also reducing waste, how the circular economy can assist net zero targets, some examples of remanufactured furniture and how that has a changed impact, and then some case studies to demonstrate in sort of real life situations the savings that are possible. So when we talk about net zero carbon, we work with the SBTIs, that's the Science Based Targets Initiative definition, which means a 50% reduction by 2030 and a 90% reduction by 2050. So as Jill mentioned earlier, obviously the climate crisis is very apparent, and we do need to reduce our emissions to keep the global temperatures to less than 1.5 degrees below pre-industrial levels. And to do this, we have to reduce emissions. So a 50% and then a 90% means a rapid and drastic cut in emissions. We talk about an entire supply chain. So any organization to achieve net zero, it's not just their own operations, it's everything in their supply chain as well. So as a furniture supplier to our clients, we're part of that supply chain. So we need to help them achieve that reduction in emissions. Quite a shocking statistic, but furniture is, excuse me, over the lifetime of a commercial building, furniture accounts for 30% of the emissions. So just to explore that in a bit more detail. So this is a piece of research. It was done a little while ago, but it still is the most recent research, where operational energy is really only 24% of the lifetime of a building. And all the embodied emissions is the remainder, so about 70%. Jill referenced earlier about, there's been a lot of emphasis on renewable energy and making equipment more efficient. So if anything, this operational energy portion will get smaller, which means that all of the embodied emissions will only become a greater proportion if we don't do anything about them. And this is another quite shocking statistic. This is from Rype, that says 300 tons of office furniture goes to landfill every working day in the UK. Now, I mean, I can't get my head around what even 300 tons of furniture looks like, but it just backs up the fact that this is an incredibly wasteful industry. So we talk about embodied emissions are best addressed using the circular economy. So Jill's already mentioned the linear economy. It's where it's the recent generations of tradition of take, make, waste. So virgin materials are extracted, items are made. In this case, we're talking about furniture. So furniture is made, furniture is used, and then it goes to landfill. So that's the waste aspect. In the circular economy, it's all about trying to keep items at their highest value, so the purpose for which they were intended, and keep them at that level for as long as possible. So we use something, we reprocess it, we use it again, we reprocess, we use it again. So this saves money, it saves carbon emissions, resources, and waste. When we're talking about office environments, really, the will from all of our clients, or the desire from our clients, is to have a really high quality aspirational office. And this can only really be done by remanufacturing. So remanufacturing as part of the circular economy is where we take a second life product, it gets disassembled down to its component parts, they're all checked, it's reassembled, and then it's reassembled and made to as new condition. So this is how we can supply, beautiful, high quality aspirational furniture, but with a much reduced impact, because we're reusing the long life elements that traditionally would have just gone to landfill. And we offer warranties on those products as well. So this is how we do it. It's for us, it's all about design. We start with really understanding what the client's needs, how they need their space to function, how it needs to reflect maybe their brand and their brand values. We start with auditing existing furniture because the most sustainable piece of furniture is one that already exists. So our design team work with the client to create the design, but try and incorporate as much of the existing furniture as possible. But all of that furniture goes through the remanufacturing process that I've just described at our factory in the UK. So when that existing furniture is put back into the space, it is there effectively as new furniture. So we source furniture to meet the design. First, obviously, existing furniture. Second, we source in the clearance market. There's no shortage of secondhand furniture in the UK. If we think back to that, the stat from Rype, about 300 tons goes to waste. We also make furniture from waste materials. So this is waste materials from other industries. I'll talk about that more in a moment. And then we do supply new furniture where it's needed, but we supply furniture that's capable of being remanufactured for future lives. So all of the remanufacturing is done in our local workshop. I'm in the factory today. We're in High Wycombe. It's a quality controlled engineering process, and across all of our operations, we preferentially employ those furthest from the workforce. To make this whole process circular, the most important thing is that we have a guaranteed take-back scheme. So any furniture that we supply, we will take back. And then we would add that into our supply chain, and then that becomes our raw materials for another project, either for the same client or for another project. We also have a rehoming scheme where we could take excess furniture, making sure that nothing goes to landfill. Within this side of the operation, we do an awful lot of sustainability reporting now. So increasingly our clients want to understand the impact of their projects, or rather the reduced impact of their projects. So we do a lot of reporting on emissions, waste, cost savings, social value, social hours created, and provenance where that's known of where the furniture was used before. So here we talk about how the circular economy creates a pathway to net zero. This is using furniture as an example, but it could be any product within the circular economy. So when we talk about offices, the chances are that any office that you're working in, the furniture was bought new. So this is our baseline of 100% new furniture. The first circular economy project, these are typical figures of we would have perhaps 20% of existing furniture, 60% of furniture sourced externally, and then perhaps 20% of new. By the time we get to the second circular economy project, we've supplied or remanufactured all of that furniture. So it's all existing, and we know that all of it is remanufacturable. If we relate that to emissions, again, our 100% of new furniture is, basically represents 100% of emissions. But you can see by the first circular economy project, we have, by using the majority of remanufactured, which is an 80 to 90% reduction in emissions, you can see by the first project, we're already well below or well more than a 50% reduction in emissions as compared to buying new. And then by the time we get to the second circular economy project, because all of that furniture is existing and all of it is capable of being remanufactured, we're down to a 90% reduction. So as you can see, this relates to what I mentioned previously about the SBTi targets. Within one project, we are can achieve the reduction required, excuse me, by 2030. And then by the second project, which doesn't, obviously we don't have to wait till 2050, but by two projects, we can get to 90%. So this shows that there is a very achievable pathway to a net zero position by using the circular economy. So this is just a sort of a summary of how what remanufacturing and the circular economy can achieve. So we supply through remanufacturing, the furniture is as new. So there's no compromise on quality, design, aesthetics, or the functionality of the furniture. Because we reuse the long life elements of the pieces, it's a 20 to 30% reduction in the cost. I've mentioned already an 80% reduction in emissions. There's an 80% reduction in waste, and social value is created. So remanufacturing and project installation lends itself to creating social value. So we have created over 8,000 hours of employment for those furthest from the workforce. Here are some examples of just some of our clients, from the big property companies right through to the public sector. So just some examples of remanufacturing. This is where we take items. This is kind of like the first level of remanufacturing, where we take items and remanufacture them to the same specification as the original product. So this is a chair from Orange Box. So the picture on the left that you can see is a new chair from Orange Box. The picture on the right is one that we've remanufactured here in the factory in High Wycombe. If you had those two chairs next to each other and they had the same upholstery fabric, you can't tell them apart. But you can see here the huge advantages. So there's a significant reduction in price, 80% reduction in emissions. We have a guaranteed take-back scheme that at no cost. We create UK jobs, and it's a high scorer for all of the building accreditation schemes, and we offer a warranty. So the second type of remanufacturing is where we call it upcycling, but it's where we remanufacture to a specification that outperforms the original, so that the product that we supply is better than the original. So this is what we call the Rype Zero chair. It starts off as a G64. This was an award-winning chair in its day, hence the FIRA badge here. There is about 1.5 million of these chairs in circulation in Europe. So there's no shortage of finding chairs for us to remanufacture. In remanufacturing it, we've redesigned it. So we've improved the ergonomics, we've updated the styling, and because it's remanufacturing, we reuse all of the long life parts. So we've created a chair that designers and architects prefer to use over the G64 because it looks more modern and it's more comfortable. So again, it's the price. It's less than half the price of a new chair. 100% recycled upholstery fabrics. No VOCs because the upholstery system doesn't require any glue. And again, obviously, we have our take back scheme. The third sort of generation of remanufactured products is where we make furniture, but it's made from recycled waste from other industries. So this example here is a tabletop that's made from recycled plastic. This particular example is recycled yogurt pots. There are quite a few different colorways now. Recycling different types of waste plastic to create different effects. So this is very popular as where there's an opportunity for a bit of a narrative, so like a boardroom table or a company's reception areas, places like that. The second one that we do is furniture made from post-consumer textile waste. So this is a picture of a chair, but there's also tables. This is the most popular color, which is actually recycled indigo denim. And as you see here, there are lots of other colorways, which are other waste streams of different colored fabrics. And then here on the right is an example of a piece of furniture that we've developed. We think that this is the most sustainable sofa in the UK. So it's designed and built here. The frame is fabricated by Merthyr Tydfil Institute for the Blind, which is one of the organisations that we work with that employs people furthest from the workforce. The the frame is made from plastic waste rather than steel or timber, which a conventional sofa would be. And all of the fabric is 100% recycled fabric made in the UK. So if I just move on to some case studies to try and demonstrate the quality that the circular economy and remanufacturing can provide. You can see from all these images, all of this furniture was supplied by Rype, and all of it is remanufactured. And then the figures here show you some of the savings, whether they be financial or environmental. So this is the head office of Transport for Wales. So this is a large building with 68,000 square feet. 77% of the furniture is second life. There's 90 tons of emissions avoided and 31 tons of waste avoided. And if you see here, these banquette seating and all of the cabinetry was all made by Merthyr Tydfil Institute for the Blind. So it's very much a collaboration between Rype and Merthyr Tydfil Institute for the Blind. Second one is this is the Public Health Wales head office building or headquarters building. Again, 94% of the furniture was second life. 134 tons of emissions avoided and 41 tons of waste avoided. Then this is JLL's building in Manchester. So again, £47,000 saved, 9.5 tons of emissions avoided and 3 tons of waste avoided. So hopefully you can start to see through some of these images the breadth of the types of furniture that can be remanufactured and the quality. So this, another example, this is JLL in Canary Wharf in London. This project actually won the ED Circular Economy Innovation of the Year Award for 2023 for the whole fit out, including the furniture. So we supplied all the furniture. It was 75% second life, 40 tons of emissions avoided and 13 tons of waste avoided. Then, and just another couple to go, but this is the Howard de Walden Estate Office in London. So this was an enormous £300,000 saved in furniture, predominantly second life. So 90% of the furniture was second life, 31 tons of emissions avoided and 10 tons of waste avoided. And then this is the head office for BP Chargemaster. So this is the headquarters of the network of electric vehicle charging stations that BP run. Again, hopefully this demonstrates the level of sort of bespokeness that can be achieved from a design perspective. Each one of these chairs is rear, or pieces of seating is reupholstered individually and reflects all of the brand colours within the BP branding, which you can see here. So again, this was an enormous amount of money saved, £300,000. 94% of furniture was second life, 47 tons of emissions avoided and 17 tons of waste avoided. So that's it really. I just wanted to demonstrate how the circular economy and remanufacturing can be a commercially viable proposition because of significant cost savings as well as the significant environmental savings. So that's it from me.
Thank you, Susan. You're welcome to put your cameras back on if you want to, or open your mics and ask some questions. Anybody got any questions? Or have we stunned you all into silence? No? Anybody like to know anything more about anything? What organisations are you working with in Wales, Susan? You said sort of Transport for Wales and Public Health Wales. Are those smaller organisations that you work with as well?
that's a good question. I think mainly we work with public bodies in Wales. We are talking at the moment with Social Care Wales. They've got a new project that's being tendered. We did the tender for that yesterday. So that's a much smaller building, but it's really interesting how they want to work much more flexibly and use their space to sort of have very many different working environments within what was a traditional space. So I think mainly, we're working with a law firm in Cardiff that use basically exclusive our furniture in Cardiff and in London. We did a big project for North Wales Police as well, but again, that's a public body. There's a lot going on in Wales, I think, because of the Future Generations Act. There's an awful lot of circular economy projects that go on in Wales.
No questions from anybody? Was anybody aware that this was going on? When had you heard of Rype Office or these type of things that are going on in terms of remanufacturing?
I think I knew that there was this sort of thing going on. I didn't realise the extent to which it was going on and the big projects involved. I mean, I suppose if I have a question, it's one question that I might ask is, in terms of the size of the projects, we've seen quite big projects there as examples. What sort of on the other side of the scale then? What are the smaller projects that you've been involved in? Would you do a smaller office, for example?
Yes, absolutely. I was just trying to sort of demonstrate with the case studies that I selected that there are, big organizations, whether they be public sector or private sector, that have really embraced the principle of remanufacturing and what it can achieve. But absolutely, we work with offices of maybe 10 or 15 people up to 600 people. And one of the best ways that we start relationships is by doing trials. So even with some of those big organizations, we've started with one meeting room or, one part of an office, reconfiguring that. And then the client gets to understand how the circular economy works, how purchasing in the circular economy is different to the linear economy. But then they also experience the quality and basically the outcome. And then that just snowballs into more and more and more projects because they understand the huge benefits. So yes, absolutely, we do much smaller projects as well.
I think it's getting over that perception that because it's remanufactured, it's not going to be the same quality or it's not going to look as good. But just looking at some of those photographs, you would never know that that's remanufactured. You would think it's brand new.
Yeah, I think the thing that we come across a lot of sort of preconceptions that the circular economy means some form of kind of compromise, whether it be the quality or what's achievable, or or compromise from a design or a purpose for a space. But really, what we try and demonstrate here is that actually that's not the case. Everything is as new. It's as good as new, for sure.
How many times would you be able to take back an item, for example? So you had a chair then that you took it back once. How many times can you actually use the materials that come from that?
That's an interesting question because it really all depends on what's happened to the chair. So if we take either of those chair examples that I used, so the fabric, they are very easy to reupholster, but the fabric is guaranteed for I think it's something like 100,000 revolutions in the testing. So that's actually a vast quantity of hours that somebody could sit on a chair. But we can replace the fabric. We something like the steel elements of the chair pretty much last forever. But we can replace things like gas lifts. We can replace arm pads. So all of those genuine parts are available. So it's really difficult to put a number against that question, because it really depends. And at some point, you know, things do eventually come to the end of their life. And what we have here in the factory, so let's say take the Rype Zeros as an example. We have chairs here that are like have gone through many iterations, and they sort of come to the end of their lives, but we keep them here. We cannibalize them for parts that would then go into other remanufacturing projects, so nothing ever goes to waste.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting point from Jess Hughes here. I think it's about reframing the narrative so people see it as reuse rather than secondhand.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the narrative is starting to change, because even in sort of personal life, I notice things like, you know, we have locally a Facebook group where everybody is putting on all the children's toys or the clothes that you want, or a piece of equipment that you had, or a garden tools, and people saw it as being something you didn't want to do, you didn't want to have secondhand, whereas somehow on social media, and somebody advertises something to share with somebody else, people seem quite happy to actually take that on board and reuse it somewhere else. So I think you're right, Jess, the narrative does need to change, and changing the way people think about things, and being a bit more innovative about how we do things, how things are designed, how we operate as organizations. And it's across the board. I know you're talking furniture there, but it covers a multitude of things, even within an office environment. What are our processes? How are we doing it? What are we doing? Why are we procuring things from certain places? Could we reuse something that we purchased before? Anybody's got any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Susan, for your time this morning.
Pleasure.
And really entertaining and informative video. Lane will share the slides with you all, and the video will be up on YouTube fairly